Welcome to the Fail Forward podcast. The purpose of this podcast is change the negative stigma around failure into a positive. Failure is only a negative if we do not learn from it and we give up. Welcome back to the Fail Forward podcast. Today I've got Rob Bryer. I met Rob in a brand and marketing mastermind, one of Rob Moore's many masterminds that he does. And Rob told me about his story and the good and the bad times he's been through. And I thought, I've got to get Rob onto this show. It's such an inspirational story. So welcome, Rob. It's good to have you here.
It's great to be here.
Amazing. So take me back as far as you need to go, whether it's whatever age, from where did your entrepreneurial spirit come from and what got you into business in the first place?
Yeah, okay. Well, we could go back so far, but yeah, I think I've always had a desire to make money and do things in different ways. I could go right back to my days of mucking out horses and selling, manure at the end of the drive, and then later realizing that I could leverage the people who wanted to buy it when I ran out of bags and get them to come and dig out the manure as well.
Brilliant. Love that.
That was probably my sort of earliest money making thing. But then I sort of at the age of 22, my wife, who I'm still married to now, girlfriend at the time, fell pregnant, which was a bit of a surprise, not really part of the plan. We were both quite young, and I thought I've got to do the right thing. At the time, actually, I was running a gardening business, just me and a friend, enjoying life, not working too hard. We'd do a bit of gardening till 3 and then go to the pub and drink what we made, and then start again the next day.
As you do at 22,
and it was great. But suddenly she was pregnant, and I thought, I've got to do the right thing. I've got to, get myself a proper job. What people call a proper job. So I went out there and got myself a job with Eurotunnel. Actually, I was working with Eurotunnel, and it was all right. I was working on the phones as a sales agent, and I was good at it. And I ended up being promoted to train people there. But I wasn't really happy. It wasn't really what I wanted to do. I had all these desires to run my own business. I sort of flitted in and out of doing these various things. But then I was offered an opportunity by a family member to move away and work in finance and be trained in finance, which was a great opportunity. It's not really what myself and my wife wanted, but we couldn't turn it down. So I went and started this career, which should have been great, and we were there for 4 years. But keeping it brief, we had 2 kids by this point. And I was deeply unhappy. It wasn't really what I wanted to do. I felt trapped, didn't really want to be living where we were living, never kind of made home there. And that was a kind of a dark time for a while where, I remember driving back from work one time. I'm talking, I was working from sort of 5 a.m. till midnight sometimes, and missing the kids' life, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I remember driving back from work one time and just thinking, I could just keep driving into that wall down there and just end all of this, suicidal thoughts, and which is a terrible place to be in. And I'm just thinking, why am I thinking like that? I've got, a lovely family, everything should be going for me. That was a real catalyst to say, right, I've got to change something. I've got to, I don't want to kill myself. I do actually enjoy life.
But I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that though, because life, if you get into a job like that, jobs draw a lot of your time and energy, don't they? And then you're not maybe not aligning with your values and what you dreamt of where your life would be. And, you're not, then you've got all the guilt of not spending that time with your family. It layers on and builds up, doesn't it?
Yeah, and there was a lot of that going on with the job as well, because I was in finance, I was in the subprime market. This was just before the credit crunch and all the things came out. And, it was back in the days when we're going out and giving mortgages to people for, self-certifying for £80,000 because they could show they had a business card and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, stopping for people from being repossessed. So the work I was doing, although it was helping people, stopping them from being repossessed. We're just getting them into further debt and worse mortgages, and literally going back to people 2 or 3 times. And that very much didn't align with my values. But anyway, I just said, right, that's it. We've got to sell the house, move back down to Kent, where where all our family is, where we're happy, and start our own business. So we just made the decision to do that, put the house on the market, sold it within a week, moved down and used the money that we had, the excess money, after buying the other house to kind of start the business. It was only about 10 grand, but it was like, right, that will hopefully be enough to get us going.
And how old are your children at this point?
They were sort of 5 and 6 years old. So yeah, still quite young.
Nice age to move then.
Is it?
Not too, they're not too invested.
Not too bad. Not too bad. So that was great, and naively kind of thought 10,000 would keep me going. Started my own finance business, then started an estate agency and letting agency, got into a franchise. Really good timing, 2008, everything crashed. The mortgage network that I was with went bust, owing me money. And cutting a long story short, that period, we basically had 3 years of trying to build this business and building a successful business, but not actually making any money, and getting further and further into debt. We kept pushing. We opened another office because we thought, well, 2 offices will, that's bound to make everything right. But it didn't, just compounded the problem. And I was just getting further and further into debt. I think at the time, when I look back, I just kind of withdrew, and I just, hiding at the back of one of the offices, not actually doing anything productive, just pushing things around, hoping things would be okay.
And do you think there was a lot of, because I can relate to a lot of this with what we've been through, but was there a lot of anxiety and obviously stress involved? Because, that's kind of where you're at, isn't it, at that point when you're trying to make things work?
Yeah. I mean, it was massive. At the time, suddenly I think I had about £300,000 in debt, a mix of, mortgage, credit cards, and business loans. And it all just hit the fan when I ran out of money. It was only so long. That you can sort of keep things going.
Yeah.
But there's multiple stages to this journey. So I ran out of money, but I thought, well, it's okay. We could rent our house. We'll rent our house out. I'll go and ask my parents if I can move into, one of the rooms in their house, move the family in. We'll just rent out the house, and that would just give us a little bit more time. So we keep, always wanted to keep trying, keep pushing. So if we just do that, and just a little bit before that, my parents again had been quite helpful with me and said, look, we'll give you £1,000 a month for a year just to help you make this work. So I had all this support going on. Of course, that added more pressure. Then I'm owing my parents money as well as everyone else.
I know that feeling.
So, but I was lucky to have that, and lucky to have their support and belief in me. But we rented out the house, and that just completely backfired. Even I'm in the business, that it just ended up costing us more than the mortgage and the costs involved, and our the washing machine caught on fire. Everything went wrong. We had some terrible tenants who left after a couple of months. We had to find someone else. So it just ended up putting us in a worse position. And there was a time that came around that time when it was just like, there just is no more money. I can't buy any food. I remember specifically going to Booker, the cash and carry, and buying a huge, great big bag of rice and thinking, this is what they do in survival zones. They give people big bags of rice. If I've got a big bag of rice, at least I can feed the family. That's the sort of level of desperation that I was at. There was just one morning I drove into our office, one of our offices, and with my wife has worked with me, and another family member who was part of the business. Got into that car park, and I think that was just when I lost it, and I literally had a breakdown, just burst into tears in front of my wife, head in hands, just like, it's got to stop. I can't do this anymore. We're going to walk into that office to my business partner and say, that's it, we're out. You do what you like. I'm done with this business. It's destroyed my life. I'm walking away from it. I never want to do it again, which is what we did. Walked in there and said, that's it. I've got to draw the line. I can't do this anymore, which was really hard to do. But it felt good. And I walked out of there, and that was the end of my business with him.
So just want to go back, because I like to just put zone in a few things, because this is really important for our listeners. So going back to that point of breaking down and then knowing that it was going to end, to that point, had you always seen the vision with that? You'd always been positive thinking, or how had you felt? Did you know the end was coming, or did you always want it to make it work?
I was always sort of pushing to make it work, but I felt being in the franchise we were in, I was constrained by that. The model wasn't working, as far as I was concerned. So I kind of needed to break free from that in order to sort of flourish. I felt I had further to go, but I couldn't go further within what we'd tied ourselves into. I say that carefully because I run a franchise.
Yeah, we'll come to that.
We'll come to that
for sure, for sure.
So, but yeah, so that was it as far as I was concerned. Sue, my wife, carried on working in the business. That was kind of the deal. It's kind of you carry on because we didn't want things to fall apart. And to say it's family, you kind of have to manage relationships, and I never would have wanted to leave anyone in a bad position. So my wife stayed there. Literally, I think the next day I took my two boys out down to a nature reserve, and I was walking around with them, just taking some time out. And I remember specifically being in this nature reserve, walking along this path, and just having this kind of epiphany, this moment of, no, I'm not giving up on this. I'm not giving up on this business. We've created a good business. We do know what I'm doing. We there's more to give. We're just doing it wrong, and it's not. I haven't failed. The model's wrong, and I kind of reworked it and thought, I don't need all these offices. I don't need these expense. One of our offices like £25,000 a year, £600 a month on business rates, stupid, unnecessary costs as far as I was concerned. And I thought, I'm going to roll this all back. I'm going to start again today, but just literally working from home, working out of the shed or the dining room table, which obviously now it's like no one thinks anything of it. But at the time, it was like, oh, you'd just be a backroom, bedroom estate agent. No one's going to take you seriously. And so, what sort of year was
this ish?
This would have been in 2010, 2011, and yeah, I did that, and I never, literally overnight, it was like, yeah, everything works, no costs, making good money, getting new clients on board, getting other people to work with me. And I thought, what we're doing here could be modeled, it could be replicated. So I thought, I'm just going to relax for 12 months. I'm going to work, and I didn't need to make too much money because there weren't many costs. We had chickens. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to feed the chickens while I'm talking to people on the phone. I'm going to dig the garden, grow vegetables, and just have a good time. But at the same time, I thought, I'm going to write a business training manual. I'm going to write the model to replicate this, not on a franchise basis, but on a semi-franchise, subcontracted agents. So I thought anyone could be doing this around the country, but we can support it all. So that's when we started to build our sort of agent network. And yeah, 2012-ish, we took on our first agent, and then we just kept on. And in fact, she still works with us today, which is great. But we just started taking on agents around the country and replicating the model. And I'd just take 50% of everything they made and supplied them with the platform to work from, and it worked. Yeah,
absolutely love that. Well. And do you know what I love the most is that you had that day where you had to go into the office. The next day you decide to go out and spend some time with your family, which is just much needed. And I always say it all the time, and it's so true what you say. you've taken yourself out of the moment, out of the grind, and then you've had that epiphany moment. And sometimes we're so in the middle of our job or our business or our life that we can't see the things that are right in front of us. And then actually, when you take yourself out of it for a minute or go and do something that's just downtime, that's when the ideas flow and you have those epiphany moments. And I absolutely love that you've had that time, because if you hadn't given up that day, you might have been in it for another few months. And I say given up, that I didn't mean given up, but you just put an end to that part of your chapter, and then you've gone right, family time, light bulb, light bulb, light bulb. So absolutely love that.
But at the time, it does feel like you say, it feels like giving up, and then you're like, no, 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 you can do this. And yeah, and all the things that happened around that time, we just thought, just sell the house, get rid of that, clear the debt, just get all that gone. And again, there was another key moment around then where it was just like someone just lifted, this huge weight off my shoulders.
Yeah.
People talk about that, but it was like literally just like my brain was like, wow, okay, I can chill now, I can relax. So yeah, that was all good time. But these things, like, as I say, there are cycles. So there was the bit where I was employed and it was like down, and then I was, made change. And the whole thing about running the business has always been about time for the family. And that's gone up and down in waves. We got busy. I forget about the family. I've had to recorrect it. And, there's been good times and there's been bad times. You push and push and you overextend yourself again. I actually set 3 rules for myself when I on the reset, and one of them was no more business partners, no long-term commitments, and no debt. And over the years, I've sort of started to break those. But the key thing is, for me, I didn't ever want to have a business partner in what is the core business. So we've got franchisees and partners, but having that is more so if it went wrong again, the hardest thing was trying to keep, everybody happy and everybody in a good position, not leaving any problems behind. And that's much easier if it's just me. I could just walk away, and I'm not, not. I don't intend to walk away, but I just thought I would never want to have that pressure. Yeah, never want to have that pressure again, because that's something that still, lives on to this day. Things that, juggling things that were, you'd never get away from those ties that you had with people, and business ties and things that went on and things that crop up from the past. That if you're like me and you have a conscience, it's like, okay, that was something that happened together. I'll still, put my hand in my pocket and deal with that. And as I have done a few times with things. Anyway, so yeah, so that was kind of the progression. Then we decided to go full franchise with it and start franchising out, which was a great decision, which was just over about 5.5 years ago now, because they're 5-year contracts, and we've just renewed 3 of those contracts. And we should have done that earlier. We should have just gone, yeah, let's do a proper franchise, and we would have grown bigger than we have, quicker. And then COVID hit, and we had that thing again. So when the lockdown first happened, I actually got COVID for 2 weeks, and I was in bed, thought I was going to die, sleeping 18 hours a day, watching back-to-back Netflix. Things were all right, but we weren't setting the world alight. And I got out of that just depressed again, just like, because I've just been in a dark room and just thinking, reevaluating my life and thinking, do I really want all of this? Now would be a great time to just say, do you know what? We've tried to make this. I could just stop right now. Which was a crazy thought, because things were going really well, but obviously there's all the pressures and everything of it. And but again, I had that moment of like, no, we've done really well. We've got to do the opposite. Yes, the world's gone crazy, but let's actually, double our recruitment efforts,
double down,
10 times our recruitment efforts. Just get out there, just recruiting more. And it was the best thing I could do, because there were loads of people unsure who were like, yeah, let's do this. We're sat at home working from home. Let's have a go at this. And we got quite a few new agents and franchisees out of that. It just makes me conscious. There's always going to, nothing's ever going to be perfect. It's like you say, You fail, you learn, you fail, you learn. And it's just about, keep on going.
It is, yeah. Keep on keeping on, and I definitely think everyone can relate to that mindset challenge, because I get it all the time. Where, especially after you came out of COVID, you probably had that time when you're on your own for a long amount of time. I know I had it. I was in this annex that I'm stood in now for 10 days or 14 days on my own, and I thought I was only ill for about 3 days. I thought I'd be really productive, but actually being in a room on your own, it doesn't really work out for your mental strength. And I think business, and a lot of it's about your mindset, isn't it? And they're the challenges we all have, the voice in our head all the time. Just don't worry about it, just don't do that, or just stop. And energy creates energy, right? And you pushed on, so I admire that. So, and going back, I'm just going to rewind a little bit. Going back when you said about the selling your house and having that weight lift off your shoulders, I could relate to that so much, because we were in the same position where we had about £200,000 worth of personal debt from it, and I battled with my wife for a while to get her to sell the house, and we just did. And releasing that pressure is just it's a game changer, because suddenly you have a clearer mind to be able to concentrate on building that business. So I definitely relate to that, and relate to a lot of what you're saying. So COVID happens. You get to this point where you come out the back of having COVID, you reassess and go, right, we're going to go again. We're going to double down on recruitment. So how's the journey been from then to now? What's it looking like at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, we have. I'm always careful how I say this, because lots of people have suffered throughout the lockdowns, but lots of people have gained as well. And in my businesses, um, estate agency property just went absolutely mad. All of our franchisees just started doing more and more business. Our over the last few years, our turnover has literally doubled every single year, set to almost double again, I think, by the end of this year. So that's just been incredible. We sort of, again, property prices went up. We had a property that we'd bought for a pretty good price at auction that we'd refurbed, that we then managed to sell at quite a substantial amount more than we'd ever planned to sell it for, which then gave me a big pot of cash to then put in and get more property. And that's an area that I should have been doing more of in the past, but it's only really the last few years, or sort of 5 years really, that we've done the odd refurb and sold it. But we've now started to build a portfolio. So by the end of this year, we've got one more deal to do. We'll have about 2.5 million in our property portfolio, a property value just. And that was literally doing the whole, none of our money. It just was. It's seen as none of our money because we got on the first few, with other people's money, and then we use the money that we made from that to reinvest. So it hasn't actually cost us anything to amass, a portfolio of 2.5 million, and we intend to grow that more. So we've been really, really lucky in that respect. At the same time, we also we started a short lets holiday company about a year before lockdown. That got off the ground pretty quickly. We had 20 properties, and initially that was okay, but that's taken a hit over time. Properties either sold or gone back into long-term rentals, and that's dwindled down to literally having 3 properties, of which one of them is ours, which I'm selling. So it's like that side has taken a bit of a hit, and we have to kind of decide, is it worth pushing back out to do that again, or do we kind of call it a day on that and let that wrap up? So, but I think as I'm talking to you, I'm answering my own questions, because I'm like, we had 3 things going on, 2 worked, 1 didn't. In another scenario, that one might be working, the other one might go down. That's just the whole thing of having multiple income streams going
Definitely.
on.
Yeah, I get
So I should really push out.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. As you say, you answer a lot of your own questions, and that's just from when we talk about things, and that's why it's so good to talk. But yeah, I know what you feel. I've got 5 different businesses, and so it sort of ebbs and flows to which one works, and then what one of them's our property investing business has actually gone on the back burner last year. We've been spending more time on our service accommodation business, and then my mentoring business. So things tend to ebb and flow in business, and they sort of go the right way. So I absolutely love your journey of where you've gone through from that, from that day where you broke down in the car, which I can relate to because I did it walking through my front door. I broke down. I knew the day the business was going to end, and now to hear you saying what you have achieved now is just, it's amazing. And that's kind of the purpose of this podcast, is to show people that we can go through these really, really bad times, and actually, we can reset our lives and we can change our lives. And that's been since what, 2012, did you say? So 10 years, which is actually a small amount of time, completely turned your life around from being in 300K's worth of debt to now having the portfolio and the businesses that you do. So what do you think was the driving force for you just to not give up on that day, to when you broke down and you just went, do you know what, I'm going to go back to my job? What drove you on to keep going?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's not money. I realise it's not money. There's a desire always there's a desire to be successful. I want to. We go back even further. Like I didn't have a great education. I didn't. I struggle writing. My hand cramps up. I've never been good at writing. Failed miserably at school. Literally left school with a couple of GCSEs. One was in dance and one was in drama. The rest I literally failed. I was going to be an actor at one point, but I knew that I had ability and that I was smart and intelligent. I just didn't learn in conventional ways, and I guess that's always put in me a deep desire to try and have to prove to people in other ways that I can't do this, and I don't fall into the conventional education route, but I can, achieve all these things. And so I think that's a real thing. It's just like I want, it's like things with my parents, like, it's kind of like stay around until I can say I'm really, really show you that I've been successful, that I've made something of myself. And so there's that. I like to help people. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy building systems. I do quite a lot. Most of the IT and the software systems I've built myself, and I've self-taught myself how to do all of that. I get a massive enjoyment, in solving these problems. So yeah, I think there's definitely a drive. I say it's not money, but we're having the kids and the future, the potential future we're heading into. There is a bit of a gear towards financial security for them, for my family. Just being able to leave a legacy. That is a part of it. But yeah, I don't know actually what drives me. A number of things.
That's good. No, it's great. No, but a great answer, and I think I see a definite trend in people that have failed at school. Because I was the same. I failed at school, and at the time, I remember my parents being bitterly disappointed. My sister was always the academic one who would pass everything, and then I came along, and as you say, the conventional school didn't work. I didn't like writing. I didn't like reading. I didn't like doing all these things, and just didn't like. I don't know whether the strictness. And I see a lot of other entrepreneurs, business owners who have not done so well at school for whatever reasons. You had Gordon Birchall one recently. He was bullied quite hard through school. Different things that have happened that haven't been the ease, but actually that's given us a driving force for the rest of our life. And like you say, having your parents and just having them been, stay around long enough. I want you to show you want to be proud of me. They're the things. Like money, yes, of course, is always going to be a driving force. Because we want to create money, we want to create safety, we want to create time. But certainly there is a definite comparison I can see in people not doing so well at school or things happening at school that then gives us this driving force forward. So yeah, no, it's a great answer, and you know, I love the fact that you have driven on and created the success that you have. And I suppose, do you have more time with your children now?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, since starting the business, that was always a priority. The whole, you know, cliche be it every sports day, all of that. But yeah, I've got two boys, have a great relationship with them, and still now, you know, they're now how old are they? 19 and 20. They are, you know, I still spend a lot of time with them. We go climbing. I keep myself fit and healthy. One of them's a big climber, so we do climbing together. Um, so yeah, it's all about trying to do that. And I'm terrible though, because I'm still like regret I didn't have enough time with them. I talked about the waves of going up and down, so it was all about making time for them. And then when Tom, my eldest son, was 8 years old, um, I was working at home, and he said to me, "You're always home, but you're never here." I was like,
That cuts
right,
deep.
that was another. Right, okay. So it was kind of a like, right, okay, I need to, um, and that's a problem with working from home, and more people will identify with that now. You don't separate that space, and it was probably around that time that we, um, yeah, made some changes and built an office outside and separated. So we had that's workspace. This is home space. But I'll be honest, now since the last few years of lockdown, the whole that whole thing has blurred back into, you know, working on the dining room table and uh, but we're trying to, as I said, working with my wife, we're trying to set rules and say, right, 5 o'clock, you know, we reset the room. This is no longer office. That all goes away. You know, you can do some work on the sofa if you like on the laptop, but just try and take this space back and not blur the lines. But yeah, so it's a constant journey of, right, okay, I need to correct that, spend more time with them again. Um, yeah, it's very sort of, he's a philosopher actually, so it's a very profound statement from him. So
Yeah, it was amazing.
yeah,
Love that. But must have cut deep. And I relate to this again. And it is that at the beginning of this year, April, May, I was well in my businesses and didn't have any time. But then the last 2 months, I've been able to spend lots of time with the children. And I think things do ebb and flow, don't they? And like you say, it's a constant correcting yourself. And you know, this podcast is called Fail Forward because we're always trying to learn from all the different failures. And looking back, I do it now when things don't go right, and you just got to keep reviewing and looking back, right, what didn't go right, what went right, what can we do to review and change. And it sounds like
yeah,
you've been doing that a lot through life.
yeah. But yeah, this puts us in a great position. I mean, look, both my sons were hit by lockdown. They're both doing their A levels, so they're only a school year apart. They're both doing their A levels when lockdown hit. So my eldest son was literally chucked out, and you know, with a similar situation to me, where you know didn't have enough coursework and never did the exams, so he just didn't come out with anything. And my other son struggled because he was only, you know, it seemed like he was only at school for 3 months in 2 years. But because we've had these other businesses going on, they've been involved in that with the property. You know, we've been able to work with them. You know, we've taken time out of the other business and just like said, right, this property we'll refurb it. We just do it all ourselves. Let's teach you how to do it, which has been great. So we've been able to give them opportunity but also spend good quality time with them, and then show them the rewards of that. So we just got back from California, had a month in California, and it was like, right, the money we've just made on that project has paid for this, you know, and so it's great to be in that position where we can show them, you know, from an early age how to hopefully not make them, you know, not fail like we did,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and that's part of
definitely.
the thing. Learn, not just learn from our mistakes, but teach them to other
Yeah,
people.
definitely. And they'll make their own mistakes, right? And we all do. But you know, you're giving them the tools to do the best they can. And I think showing them that, you know, them not doing maybe their A levels was tough for them, but actually showing them some actual other projects and ways you can do things is probably hugely valuable to them, that they can, you know, go and use for the rest of their lives now at different points.
Yeah, yeah, I believe so.
I certainly know my dad brought me up in buying and selling houses. He did it the hard way, doing it all himself. And at the time, I was a teenager pushing wheelbarrows around, hating life because I wanted to be out with my mates. And now I didn't go into property till I was a year ago, and I'm 38. And as soon as I got into property, I started looking at projects and going, oh, I understand what I've got to do here. And even though I hadn't used it for many, many years of being in there as a teenager, it stayed with me for all my life. So absolutely love that you've done that with your boys. That's a really cool thing to do. So I just wanted to ask, what advice would you give somebody, or even your former self, or younger, not former self, younger self, who is going, if anyone's listening to this and they're going through a really tough time in business or a job like you were, that is either overworking, not getting to see their kids, or their business is not going so well, and they're going through tough times. What would you say to people out there?
I think the thing to do, and we sort of touched on it earlier, although my way was a bit more dramatic. You don't need to have a breakdown, but just say, right, I need some space. I need to. Going on holiday is one of the best things you can do. It doesn't have to be you might be struggling with money, so it doesn't have to be a luxury holiday, but just take a week out and properly take it out. No emails, no. I remember it wasn't such a bad time, but doing something like this where it was just like, right, I'm getting a burner phone that only my mum has my number. I'm leaving my phone, my email behind. I'm just taking a week out with this phone, and if there's an emergency, my mum can phone me, but nobody else can. And just like having that complete switch off, which is what I did in my reset. But just like you said, having that clarity, I would just take a step away from everything, clear your mind, and then you're in a position to make a good decision. You'll start to see it from the outside.
Absolutely love that, and you're 100% right. I've got a burner phone, and my PA, my wife, and my mum have got the number. That's it, no one else. And like my PA's like, unless the one of the businesses like going completely wrong and you need me, don't contact me. And then when we go away, you're fully present and you're not within it, and you see so much other stuff, don't you? You suddenly have those epiphany moments that you had. So that's great advice,
Yeah.
Rob. Appreciate that.
I think the other thing would be just to say, not to be afraid to say, right, I've got to stop this. Let's just stop it. It's not working. Let's just stop it. We can do something else. We've got time to do something else. We can just reset and rebuild. And like you said, it's been 10 years for me, just over 10 years. 10 years ago, that would seem like, it's going to take me 10 years to get, everything right again. But looking back, it's just gone, in a breeze. So just, don't be afraid about that. Don't worry how much time it takes to get things right again.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely love that. I love that because it's a reset, isn't it? And I know I traded probably my business maybe a year or two longer than it should have done. I should have gave up or stopped 2 years before. And I think there's something really profound about actually saying no. I'm not going to, because you always seem similar to me, very positive mindset. I was always wanting to make it work. I can make this work. I can make this work. New problem. I'll solve that. I'll solve that. I'll do this. I'll do this. Oh, I'll get some money from here. I'll put the house up for rent, or whatever, solution we were having. But really the biggest solution was just to go, no, draw a line under the sand. Let's stop here and let's restart again. And then, like what you said, being patient as well, because I certainly know that patience is something to be learned, and things don't get built overnight. It takes time, doesn't it?
Yeah. As a saying, people overestimate what they can do in a year, but underestimate what they can do in 10 years.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing.
100%.
So,
100%. Yeah, totally relate to that. So what's next for you, Rob? What's the plan for the future?
So just involved in a big project at the moment that I've been developing a new property platform called Open Move, which I truly believe is going to be the next big thing in property. We're completely revolutionizing property, the whole industry. We're basically bringing all parts of the industry together. The easiest way to put it is that right now it's a very, estate agency, lettings, Rightmove, Zoopla. It's all a very closed shop. And I want to open that up. The world's moving in different directions. We know that from Airbnb and the Ubers and these kind of things. I'm now building a platform which is sort of ready to launch any day, which is kind of going to bring everyone together. It's called Open Move because it's open, and we're trying to open up the network, and that's basically going to be one place where everything can happen. Throughout a sale, throughout a letting, solicitors, mortgage companies, chains, estate agents, people privately selling, people privately letting, whatever part of the industry, or however you're doing things, it's all tied within one platform, which basically will make everybody's lives a lot easier, and I believe open up more opportunities for individuals, agents, and it's very much built to make the best agents shine. So rather than being the cheapest agent, if you chose to use an agent through it, the agents are ranked on how successful they are, how well they use the app, how well they respond to viewings and requests and feedback, and really we'll sort of champion those agents and say, this is the top agent. They charge X. They might cost you $5,000, or you can go to the cheap agent, but they're down there. They're cheap for a reason. It's kind of that's in a nutshell what it's doing. But there's a lot more to it. I try to make it simple, but it's incredibly complex under the hood.
I can relate to that because when we sold our house, we were obviously in financial difficulty, so we went for the cheapest, and we didn't have a great time. We actually ended up selling it on doorsteps or purple bricks because we were doing the viewings ourselves. But the cheapest isn't always the best. But we were in that zone, so that sounds like a fantastic platform to be able to go, right, I'm going to have someone good come in and sell my house and get that feel of being able to have. We didn't feel have any personal effect. The people that are selling our house didn't know the special features of the house and what we'd done. It was just someone turning up going, here's a house, and you're like, okay, sell it for me, sell it, it's your job. So love that. So have you got a launch date for that? Sounds exciting.
Well, it's been every Friday for the last month, so any day now. By the end of August 22, it will be live.
Well, this episode might not be out till then because we've got quite a few ahead. So actually, if you're listening now, listeners, it might well already be out. So what I'll do, Rob, is I'll get some links from you when it's launched, and I can put it into the show bio so people can go and check it out.
That'd be great.
Cool. And what about the franchises and everything like that? Still pushing on with those?
Yeah, so still pushing on. We've just taken on, as I say, new offices, a new training space. We're massively focusing on training. We've just launched. So we started with the agent option, which is like, join us for £50 a month, and we'll give you everything and share the commission. Up to the franchise, which is 15,000 plus VAT. We've just built a new. There are people who aren't ready to buy the franchise but want more than just being an agent. So we've just created a new product called Agent Plus. So basically, you can start a franchise for £1,000. You don't get the full franchise. We'll give you a heightened commission, and we're going to give you an extra 10% of everything you earn, which goes into a pot to buy the franchise later. So it's a stepping stone. We've literally just launched that. In fact, we're just testing the waters with that. We've got a couple of people gone on to that. We've got many of our agents who are like, yes, that's where I want to be. So I'm quite excited about that. We're about 28 franchises right now. We've got over 100 independent agents out there, but our target is to get to 100 franchises. That was the target within 3 years before lockdown hit. That's kind of now our 2-year target, get to 100 franchises. That's kind of the key number that kind of makes everything work for all of us. So that's the plan. And yeah, we're keen that this Agent Plus sort of pay as you profit model is going to be it's something unique in the franchising industry to sort of get, because there's great people out there who haven't got £15,000 to put down. So that's
bridging the gap.
Yeah, that's where we're going with that.
And then some more property projects in the pipeline.
Yeah, so we've got two. We're just bought one, which we're in the middle of refurbing. In fact, my son's up there now, tearing out the kitchen.
Love that.
And I've got my brother involved with that, which is great because he's just come back from overseas. And we've got another one. We're actually buying another one next door. We refurbed the other one next door. So this is our Monopoly Street, and we're buying them all up. Just about to buy another large property, which is 2 properties combined with about 3 acres on. And poignant moment, talking about failing forward. Within that property, I already own some land, which I've been trying to get planning permission for 5 years. And just before we came on, I got notice from the appeal, which was the final step to say that it's a no. So it's like, but it's like, do you know what? We move on. We fail forward. What's next? Okay. I'm kind of like, well, at least I haven't got to worry about building a house now. I'll just, next
Yeah, I
time.
love
So,
that. Love that positive attitude.
yeah. So, yes.
Cool. So one question. Do you think, because you've just told us all these great things that you're doing, the success that you're having, which is amazing, do you think you'd be where you are now if you hadn't have gone through that really bad moment of failure and stuff like that? That difficult time.
No, definitely not. You need those moments. You need those moments to reflect on. I'm lucky to have that, because there are people who, like you say, you carried on for longer than you should have. And there was a point I was like, I could just carry on. I could keep doing this. I could make it work, but I'd still be where I was 10 years ago. I'd still be struggling, because I just, you can be persistent in the wrong way sometimes. And there are people who've persisted their whole lives with something that's failing, and they're just getting by on. So actually failing, having that moment, having that breakdown, having that epiphany is responsible for where I am now. So I never regret anything. Those first 3 years that failed, that was a university education. And I always draw back on that. I always look back on those moments. It's like, right, that, when you see it possibly happening, when you see where we are with the economy now, and you think, what steps did I take around then to correct that, or what steps did I not take where it failed? What should I have done to immunize myself against potential property crash, or just another recession? So yeah, I definitely wouldn't be there. You definitely need to have these failures, and yeah, as I said earlier, it's great to teach people about them, but you need to have them yourself, because you never really learn unless you fail yourself.
Definitely. Yeah, it's that failing forward, that learning. And we were talking about drive earlier. Do you think the failure pushed your drive on further?
Oh yeah, definitely, because I said about the success thing. So it's like, parents and family and friends, they all knew that I failed. So it's like I then have to prove even more that that it all worked out. And so yeah.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. Because when I failed, it seemed to turbocharge my failure. I was like a wounded bear for a few months. Couldn't get my head out my ass, and just felt really down. And then suddenly I was like, right, no, I need to prove everyone wrong even more. So definitely
I
does
was
push
having
on.
a heated discussion with a friend of mine just a couple of days ago, that it wasn't a great thing to be content. When I feel content, I stop driving forward. So it's good to have a little bit of pain. I was actually trying to keep my business quite lean, so I sort of take as much money out as possible, so that when it comes to paying the bills, I'm kind of like, oh,
Yeah,
we're only just going to be able to do this. We need to do
yeah,
more. So, yeah, a
yeah.
little bit of failure, a little bit of pain is good for you to push you forward. He was arguing, no, it's great. You should just be content and happy with what you've got. But that's what makes the difference between people who create amazing businesses and products and people who don't.
Yeah, 100%.
Um,
If you're in your comfort zone and you're content, that's dangerous, isn't it? And that's where, like, getting out of that comfort zone and pushing yourself, and like you say, sometimes having the bank balance lower. Like now, all my life, everything's in my wife's name still. I still have nothing, so I'm always pushing on. I don't have anything. It's Sarah's got it all. So I can completely relate to that. And one of the sayings I love is what got you here today might not necessarily get you to where you want to go. And I love that, because it means you've always got to be pushing on and not being content, not being in your comfort zone. So yeah, absolutely love that and relate to that completely. Cool. It's been amazing having you on, Rob. I think we're coming to the end of the time now. I knew when we met and you told me a bit about your story that this would fit perfectly for the Fail Forward audience and what this podcast stands for. Is there any final thoughts or anything else you'd like to say to our listeners?
Anything I would like to say, just if you're in a position right now where you're employed or stuck in somewhere you don't want to be, don't worry about failing. Be willing to take the risk. It's the best thing I ever did in my life. I would never go back, despite everything that we've talked about has happened. If you're not happy where you are, if you've got desire to be somewhere, then just do it, because there's always time to reset. You might lose everything. I always remember this: no one can ever take away from you what you've learned. No one can take your skill. They might take your money, they might take your house, but they can't take away you. So just bear that in mind. Be willing to lose it all, because you can just start again.
Absolutely love that. And that's why that saying, there's no better investment than investing in yourself and your own self-development is amazing. So thank you so much for those words of wisdom. Thanks for being here, Rob.
Great.
Really appreciate it. And this is the end of this Fail Forward podcast. I'll see you all next time. Thanks all.